Hello! So today I'm going to be talking about magic systems in some of my favourite books. I don't read a lot of books that contain magic, but I do read some. And one of my favourite things about magic is when they actually describe how it works. When I was a kid on my way to school, I'd imagine like doing magic and stuff, and I'd always think about the mechanics behind it. And I know it's stupid to think about that because the whole point of magic is that it doesn't need explaining. It's like magic. Literally, it's like magic. But when things are just explained away with magic, like, oh, I've just done a spell because of magic, I kind of think, yeah, but why? On a molecular level, what have you done? I'm a scientist, so I'm kind of interested in that kind of minutiae. Like, if you've changed one thing into another thing, have you changed the atoms? Have you changed the appearance? What's going on a physical level? So here are 5 magic systems, kind of, from books that I've read. The Harry Potter series by J.K. Rowling. Rowling? This is a very basic magic system. Essentially, you just do a spell. You say some words, and you move your wand in a particular way. Wingardium Leviosa, swish and flick. And yeah, sometimes you have to do something mentally, like to do the ridiculous spell on a boggart, you have to think of what you would like the boggart to be. Or the Patronus spell requires you to think of a very happy memory. But that's kind of it, like it's just some words and a wand. What's to stop a muggle from doing a spell? If they have a wand and they have the words, can they not just do a spell? And I know this is just a kid's book, but I used to think about it a lot. Like at one point they turn a rat into a cup. A rat into a cup, a living thing into an inanimate object. I mean, is the cup still sentient? What if you changed a person into a cup? Can you change them back? What happens if you do? Do they remember being a cup? What's happened on a molecular level? If the cup is made out of silver and the people are made out of, you know, carbon and stuff, what's happened to the atoms? Let's move on. So the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett features a lot of magic. Now there's a lot of different kinds of magic in the Discworld series. I want to focus on 2, the wizards and the witches. So it's never exactly explained how the wizards use magic either, but they do read spells out of spellbooks. An interesting concept is that once you've read a spell, it resides in your head, and once you do that spell, it's gone forever. It's explained a bit in the first 2 books of the series that these spells are kind of living, but again not really explained how it works. But I like the concept that these spells can only be used once. Witches on the Discworld, however, use something called headology. For example, at one point in the books, someone tries to stab one of the witches and they just grab the sword, but nothing happens to their hand. Later in the book, they bandage up the hand, ready for it to start being injured. The witches say it's all about using your mind to conquer the body, but that's about it. It kind of leads me on to another set of books that has magic that isn't. Flawless segue! The Warlords series by Bernard Cornwell. I really love these books, but no one has read them. They're basically a retelling of the Arthurian legend, but with some historical context. Like, it all happens in the Dark Ages, between the time that the Romans left Britain and the Saxons are invading Britain. Not a lot is known about this period of history. So in a book which tries to tell this story realistically, and in a historical context, how do you deal with someone like Merlin? Merlin's a wizard, right? Well no, in these books he's a druid, part of the old religion which is being eased out by Christianity. He's like, yeah, I see your monotheistic god, but can he do magic? And to everyone involved, Merlin seems to use magic. But it turns out all of his magic are just tricks. And most people fall for his tricks, but they're just tricks. I think these books are a great adaptation of that legend. It's a great way to acknowledge the magical aspects of that story while being rooted in reality. So my second favourite magic system is that shown in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I know I'm talking about him a lot recently, I will stop at some point. The magic system in the Wheel of Time is really well written. All magic in the book comes from what's called the One Power, and it's split into a male side and a female side. People can open themselves up to the power and then use it in particular ways. For me, one of the downsides of these books is that the magic system hinges on 5 elements. You know, those 4 that come up all the time, and a 5th one just to tie them all together. Spells in the Wheel of Time kind of use flows of these elements, and you sort of harness these flows, and I quite like the way that it's written in the books. People who are using magic can be sensed by other magic practitioners, although only females can sense females and males can sense males. The male half is also tainted by evil, and anyone who uses it will eventually go mad. It's actually a really cool and original plot device, and it's kind of an ongoing threat for the protagonists. Like, any man who uses magic will eventually go mad if he uses enough. It's brutal. It's like a sword of Damocles hanging over the head of the protagonist at all times. Moving on to my favourite magic system. The Old Kingdom series by Garth Nix has an amazing magic system. So in these books there's something called the Charter, an atmospheric body of magical power. Throughout the story it's kind of explained where it comes from, but what's important is that this charter is made up of something called charter marks. You can kind of see marks on the book They're sort of drawn out of the charter and they can return to it. It's sort of described as an ocean or a flow, but when people are doing magic they kind of write these charter marks inside their own head or with a weapon, and it's kind of like they're writing a story by writing a spell out of these charter marks, and then they kind of work when you bind them all together at the end. It's a really good system and it's very well explained in the books and you don't often get that. So those were some magic systems. If there's any that I've missed out that you think are definitely worthy of attention, please put them in the comments. Also, if you want, subscribe or get in touch, and thanks very much for watching.